All right. All right. All right. So we have a big recap. We had a big fight weekend this weekend. We had Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo and Canelo Alvarez versus John Ryder. And we also had Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. Very good week of fighting. I enjoyed the fights this week, except for Canelo's and John Ryder. So let's just get to the worst and we'll get to the best. So, what did we learn from Canelo versus John Ryder? Well, we learned that boxing doesn't give a fuck about his fans, and it will put on pointless fights for 12 rounds and 36 minutes wasted of our lifetime. I actually know 4 times 11, 44 minutes plus the 3. So 47 wasted minutes of our life is what we got with the John Ryder and Canelo Alvarez. And what do we learn? Well, we learned that Canelo could beat up guys that he's supposed to beat up. So whoop-de-doo. It was great to fucking see the theatrics. I had no idea who was fighting on the undercard, nor did I care. I just say bring on the Jake Paul revolution because boxing is just a dead sport and it doesn't give us what we want. Why is Canelo fighting this guy? I have no idea. I really have no idea. I never heard of a John Ryder before this fight, and I probably never hear of a John Ryder after this fight. All I know is he got his nose fucking busted. He got knocked down twice, and he still managed to fucking hang in there with Canelo. So how good is Canelo? I have no idea, really. I really don't. I think Canelo probably is going to fight that Russian guy. He called him out. Bivol, wherever the fuck the guy's name is next up, which will probably result in another loss for Canelo and further diminishing the legacy of boxing because even if Canelo loses, we still don't care about who Bivol is. So, I mean, I guess this is a good thing for boxing. I don't know. Boxing can't stop shooting itself in the foot. They keep making fights we don't want to see. They keep wasting our time. And pretty much from the get-go, what I learned was Canelo can beat up people from Britain. So, yay. Congratulations. I mean, shit. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say about boxing anymore because every time we get a boxing event, we get maybe one fight or 2 fights a year that we actually care about, and the rest of the fights is like people we never heard of. And this is why Jake Paul is good for boxing. Jake Paul is single-handedly keeping boxing alive. And it really is a tragedy that he lost to Tyson Fury's brother, Will Fleury. Because Will Fleury is a no-name boxer, and this proved to the point that Jake is not ready for the upper echelons of boxing. And I'm happy that he's fighting Nate Diaz because I'm more interested in that. I'm more interested in Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul than any other boxing match that I can reclaim of. That's going to happen this year. And whose fault is this? It's boxing's fault. We got Gervonta Davis versus Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia. That was an event. It was nice to watch. Shout out to Ryan Garcia for dealing with the bullshit. Because if he didn't take that bullshit ass rehydration clause, we would never got a most interesting fight. And he'll end up fighting Tank again because Tank's going to go broke in about 4 years. So he'll need Ryan Garcia. Garcia will be a lot better. But anyway, the Canelo fight, just a fucking waste of everybody's time. And let's just bring up Canelo to prove our point either further. Shout out to the redheaded Mexican. Yeah. Shout out to redheaded Mexican because that's all I really got to offer to it. I mean, he beat the guy up. What else you want me to say about the fight, man? Did anybody even really watch the fight? Who really watched Canelo's fight? Like, actually, they cared to pay attention. I don't think anybody actually really cared to pay attention to this fight. So anyway, let's get to the more important part. Belal Muhammad put on a masterful performance against Gilbert Burns. Remember the name? Is a fucking savage. And I enjoy watching Belal. See, what I was watching Belal, what I noticed was Belal has a beautiful fucking fighting IQ. His IQ is fucking ridiculously high. And he had fucking Gilbert Burns in a blender that entire fight. Gilbert Burns didn't know what to do with the man. And there was a couple times where Belal could have stepped on the pace and really put the pressure on to Gilbert when he had him hurt. But I agree with them. Like, why would I if I'm already up on the cards and I'm whooping this guy's ass? Why even give him a chance to land a bomb and change the fight? I mean, at the end of the day, the point of the game is to hit and not get hit. He's on a 10-fight win streak. The man is putting in good work. He has a swag like no others. He's a part of the meme culture, and he's just interesting. Like, I enjoy watching interesting people. And I can watch this all day. Shout out to Bilal. He was trending. I earned my shot. Took my shot. There's no denying now. He's absolutely fucking right. Thank you, Bilal, for putting on this master class. And look at the just beautiful keeping the pressure on him. And he felt that power. He realized, oh shit, that power was something to be dealt with. But he kept pressing, and there was word on the street that maybe Gilbert was hurt going into the fight, so maybe that kind of fucking made it worse. But shit, the man, he had a bad ankle. It looked like because when he was walking, he was kind of limping during the weigh-ins, but it didn't make a difference. He put the work on Gilbert. And it kind of showed that Gilbert is what he is. He's a one-dimensional brawler who has very good jiu-jitsu and ground game. But if he doesn't get you to the ground, he's not going to be able to do anything. And shout out to Gilbert taking the fight after whooping the fuck out of Jorge, which actually makes Jorge look even worse because Jorge was, I mean, at the end of the day, like in the world of Chael Sonnen, what does this put Jorge? This put Jorge back in the bare knuckle fighting because Jorge might as well go to the back to Miami and keep doing what he was doing previously. Yeah, but shout out to Bilal, man. That was a very good fight. I enjoyed him. He put good work in. He was cooking that boy and just putting work on him. Straight leg kicks. And what's really nice about Bilal is that his stance switching continues to switch guy. Like it really flusters guys because if you ever been fighting a guy who can switch stance and hit equal size, like you can bat both angles, it makes it very difficult to fucking gauge the timing, gauge the range. Because as he's throwing shots, you're thinking he's a lot further out than what he is, but when he stands shifting, he's able to get those hands to you going. So say he has his right hand as his jab. He's jabbing. He'll step into a switch, hit you with the jab with the left hand because he just rotated his body, come with the right kick, and then come with a right. And it's very confusing, and it's especially when you're playing on a defense. And Gilbert was on his back foot most of that fight. Block at that pressure. So shout out to Bilal, good fight. I hope to see him against Leon or Colby. Perfectly, I'd rather see him against Colby. I think that'll be a way more interesting build-up and will sell a lot more money because fucking Leon is terribly boring and does not try to entertain the fans. Yeah, good job, Leon. Like, we're proud of you that you made your mama proud, but shit, nobody gives a fuck. Like, entertain me. That's all I care about. But now to the main event. The main fucking event, which was really the best part of the entire fight, which was Cejudo. I probably can't spell his name correctly. Oh, we gotta get back. But Cejudo and Sterling. Now, this was a fight of a fight of a fucking fight. Because Cejudo took 3 years off, which time goes by fast. Jesus Christ, man. The pandemic was only 3 years ago when we really stopped back and think about the beginning of the pandemic. And Cejudo took that fight against TJ Dillashaw, whooped that boy's ass, and then basically said, I'm out. Triple C's done. But during that time period, he had a very interesting layoff. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Hajime no Ippo. But Hajime no Ippo is a very dope anime about a Japanese featherweight boxer. And right now, in the current time period of Hajime no Ippo, Ippo is currently a coach. And see, what's cool about coaching, especially in the fight game, is that your IQ rises tremendously. So Ippo's IQ has been gradually increasing while he's been fighting, and it's really scary because now he's getting smarter with the fighting. And the same thing happened to Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo has been coaching for the last 3 years with John Jones, a couple other champions. He has about 3 champions in the account. I gotta look. Cejudo's fight. Cejudo's, who is he coaching? I know he's coaching John Jones. In his gym, he has John Jones. He has Wei Lee. Let's see who else. Yeah, Figueroa. Yeah, so he's been coaching high level guys, and these guys are giving him a lot of praise, which means his IQ is growing. So not only did he get a chance to recover, his IQ grew tremendously because he's watching fighters, he's breaking down fights. And if you watch Cejudo's fight breakdowns. The man's he's a genius. He's a genius when it comes to the fight game. Like legitimately one of the highest IQs I've ever seen from a guy in the fight game. He really understands what he's watching. Even worked with Demetrius Johnson. And he's improving as a fighter. And it's very humbling because when you get to sit back and really watch the game as a fighter and see other fighters, you get to give them feedback and breakdown. You see parts of yourself in that fight and things that you could take and add. Because now you're looking at it from a third person's bird eye view instead of watching it from your first eye view. And I saw this big time. So even though he lost, according to judges' faces or judges' cards, what I was watching as a fighter was that this man Cejudo he had Aljamain in the fucking box. Aljamain didn't know what to do with Cejudo. Now, all Aljamain was doing, since Aljamain is so much more bigger, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the weight cut, but Aljamain walks around. If I look up his weight, I think Aljamain walks around. Aljamain walk around weight. I think I want to say he walks around like around 170. Yeah, so Aljamain, he walks around. He gains about 40 pounds in between fights. So he fights at 135 and he gets up to 176. The man is cutting 40 fucking pounds to fight at 135. That is fucking insane. Because really, all he's really doing, what he's really good at is basically weight cutting. Like he's a professional weight cutter. That's essentially what Aljamain is, which is not necessarily a good fighter. And it's shown in the fight because there's no way Aljamain will ever be able to make 125. And Henry Cejudo made 125 most of his career. Even when Cejudo got into his fat boy, he was only about 150, 160 maybe. And that was him being a fat boy. Aljamain was active, walking around 176. So that's a 180-pound man cutting down to 135. And then around fight night, he probably rehydrates about 150, 155. So he's about 20 pounds heavier than what he normally is supposed to be fighting at. And that's really the only thing that consistently that Aljamain does is he fucking walks around super heavy. So, I mean, if you want to give him credit for being a good weight cutter, I mean, shit, congratulations. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I guess that's something. But when I was watching the fight, Cejudo had this man fucking confused and flustered. He didn't know what to do with him. And Aljamain only got away with fucking spamming ass takedowns. Terrible fucking. Oh, he had some leg kicks. Leg kicks were doing, but not even real damage. But Cejudo was tagging him. He was getting to him, taking him down. I saw Cejudo winning the IQ fight. Aljamain won the physical. I'm bigger than you, so it just looks more physically imposing. He won the visual. But even then, we gotta give Cejudo some credit for shutting down a lot of those takedowns. A lot of those takedowns, he fucking just busted that shit down. He stopped them. And they gave Aljamain the fight, which I mean, as a judge, if I'm judging it, I had to kind of give it to Aljamain because simply he was fighting better. He just looked more physically better. But realistically, if you knew what you were watching, Cejudo watched that. He won that fight. Cejudo won that fight. But, I mean, good for the UFC because Cejudo probably would have retired. I don't know who would have fought next. He probably would have went up to 145, try to fight Volkanovski, go for the quadruple champ, which would be pretty hard. I will fuck with that. But this puts Cejudo back in a weird spot because does he come back to retry to fight and reclaim it? I don't know. Probably not. He's probably like, I'm over it. Like, I'm going to go with my family. This is a one-time thing. If I got the win, I try to fight maybe Volkanovski, get the 145 belt. But overall, I was very impressed with Cejudo after a 3-year layoff. Not so much more impressed with Aljamain. I do give Aljamain a pretty heavy favor over Sean O'Malley. I think he has a much better chance of being Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley has a lot of weak holes in his grappling. And I think if Aljamain can get a hold of him, he's going to pretty much ragdoll him and do the same thing he did to Peter Yan. But if they're striking and standing up, I think Sean puts him away fairly easy. I don't think it'll be much of a fight if Sean can keep it standing because they're roughly the same length and size. And I think that was one of the big problems that Cejudo was facing was simply he didn't have the range to get to Aljamain when Aljamain made bad mistakes. Since Aljamain was doing a lot of spamming, just weak shit. But anyway, it was a very good fight weekend. I was pretty happy to watch. I enjoyed them. Shout out to Cejudo, still a legend. very humble in defeat, very brilliant mastermind and tactician. Good job to Aljamain for cutting weight. I mean, shit, 176 to 135. That's impressive. 40 pounds a cut. Doing it every fight consistently. I mean, you gotta give the man credit. He's a professional, great weight cutter. And a big shout out to boxing for giving us what we normally expect, which is dog shit product, and carrying off the legacy of old boxers, old timers. Yeah, boxing sucks. This fucking boxing it's just garbage. Fuck boxing.